yeah, the WX is officially ready.
Good morning, people. Or I guess it's not really morning for anyone who's watching this in the afternoon, but you get the gist. So today, now that the racing season is officially over for the year, we are going to start doing all of the stuff that happens during the off season, which is upgrades, modifications, fixes, changes, etc. So for today, I forgot to record some of it, but I went ahead and did some quick test fitment stuff because basically I want to run 275 square on the S2000 this year, and since I want to run 275 square, I needed to figure out how to make it all fit. So basically what I ended up doing, it's not going to be immediately apparent, but you can kind of, anyone who's seen this car in person can kind of tell from this angle. You can see that the fitment's a little funky, and that's because I took my back tire and put it on the front, and my front tire and put it on the back. Because basically what I'm trying to figure out is I was trying to figure out the best solution in terms of fitment for next year in order to fit 275. So it's really annoying because Enki, they make all of their 10-inch wheels, their 18 by 10 wheels only come in a plus 38 offset, and so because of that, it's not perfect for the front. So that's why I had the plus 38s in the rear, and then I ended up having to do 18 by 9 with a plus 35 fitment in the front. I still really hate myself for not getting their plus 45 fitment, because their plus 45 fitment would solve all of my problems. That being said, it worked just fine for the fitment I'm currently running, but for the fitment I want to run is where I run into problems. So basically what I'm going to do, instead of having to spend $600 on 2 new wheels just to shelve 2 other wheels for funsies, what I'm actually going to go ahead and try to do is, I think, so you can kind of sort of see it. I'll see if I can get a good angle of it. You can kind of see how it just barely clears, because basically in street mod, your tires have to clear your fender, or they can't clear, they have to fit within the body lines of your car. And so what I'm hoping right now is that I can go ahead and once I lower the car about an inch, which is something I've needed to do, but because the car was getting driven to grid life events, I had it about an inch higher just so it would survive getting there. So I'm going to drop it an inch, and then that should give me enough negative camber that wheel and tire will tuck. And so it's kind of ghetto, but essentially what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be running a bigger wheel in front. So it'll be a 18 by 10 wheel in the front, running a 18 by 10 plus 38 wheel in the front with a 275 tire. And then the rear will be an 18 by 9 wheel running a 275 tire, because the Federal tires that I'm running, they do fit on a 9-inch wheel. So all intents and purposes, the tire fitment will be square, and everything will fit well. It's just kind of ghetto on paper because I have a wider wheel in the front. So that's the other thing too, is that the rear tire will look really meaty, whereas the front tire will look, well, exactly like what it looks right now, which is, still not skinny looking by any means. I keep forgetting to get actually closer so you guys can kind of see. So, anywho, that is all sorted out, so I'm going to give it a shot. Push come to shove, I just have to buy different wheels mid-season, because I'm set to go through like 4 sets of tires this year, so I'll have the opportunity to change things around. But for now, it's all about saving money, because I'm not made of infinite money, and this year is going to be expensive, doing multiple grid life events on top of all the other stuff that I do. So, that being said, that's one thing I already took care of. It would have been boring. It would have just been me staring at wheels and tires and going, So, now on to the more interesting stuff, which is that basically, some of my friends, some of my friends that I met at Grid Life ended up suggesting something to me. So, cylinder number 4 right here has oil leaking into the spark plug tube. So I'm going to redo the gaskets. I know it's a new motor, but I guess this gasket wasn't seated properly. So I have a whole new set of gaskets ordered for it. And basically what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to, in order to make my life a little bit easier, so from the factory you can kind of see how the valve cover is tucked. So it's just barely, so you can actually like lift it up and then tilt it out. But basically, what I'm gonna do is that makes it really hard to get it to seat right when it's in the car. So what I'm going to do is, you can kind of see I've already mocked up this little box. So basically there's just this little plastic trim, and then underneath it is just this little metal lip, because this is where all the rain and stuff collects. Like, this is like the gutter for everything. So when you close the hood, it actually covers up all this, so you don't need to worry about it looking ugly or weird, or about any water getting in there or anything like that. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take my Dremel and I'm going to cut out this little box, and that will give me clearance to actually lift the valve cover on and off, because basically on paper I will probably be doing a valve adjustment later this year, so this valve cover will come off again, and it'll just make life easier as a whole, especially even when you're pulling the motor. It'll give you a little bit more clearance and just a bunch of other stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead. It's kind of like a track day / track boy mod, so you can quickly do stuff like that. But yeah, so we're gonna get started on that.
Alright, so that honestly went a lot better than expected. I was expecting to run into some sort of weird random issue, or to forget something, or to accidentally cut a wire that I didn't mean to cut, but I mean, you can see for yourself right here. We got a pretty clean, God, this is a terrible camera angle, but you know, I'm gonna sand down some of these little burrs that showed up, because obviously the plastic was melting along the way. But honestly, not gonna complain there. And you know, if you look now, the valve cover has full clearance to exit through this little space. So that's gonna make doing the valve adjustments, doing valve adjustments, as well as anytime I need to just do gasket work or motor pulls or everything, it's just gonna make it a million times easier. I am so glad that I decided to go through with this. But again, this is really only a mod to consider doing if you plan on doing this frequently. Like, you know, every few months checking on stuff or changing stuff or breaking things. Would not recommend going through, you know, uglifying it to, because, you know, if you take this to a car show, it's gonna look hella uggo. So, yeah, hella uggo. So anyway, like I said, you know, now I'm just gonna go ahead and prettify it a little bit so it doesn't look like total ass, but after that, it's just more cleanup work, and then we'll go ahead and start replacing the valve cover gaskets. Alright, so with just a little bit of sanding that you can see here, it now is, you know, not that it needed to look pretty, but it just looks less janky and cut up. So basically the only thing really left is I'm gonna go ahead, mask off some areas, because I got it right up there into the bucket here where the rain actually collects and deflects out. So basically, since this is now exposed metal, just so that it doesn't rust and get gross and eventually lead to rust holes here, I'm gonna go ahead, like I said, I mask it off and then just do a quick little spray sprab of some paint just to like lightly coat it. And since like this part of the car doesn't see a lot of environmental action, just a few quick sprays of some spray paint will do the trick, just so I can get that kind of sealed off. And then after that, we are officially done with this mod. And with that, obviously the paint is still wet because I'm not really letting this dry out before I went ahead and pulled the tape off, because I've got more things to do. But there you go. So, you know, hardly looks OEM, but again, will definitely, you know what, I'm just repeating myself at this point. There you go. Now on to the valve cover gaskets. So, while the valve cover is off, it's a good opportunity to look around, and obviously the video quality isn't really going to capture things very well, but at the end of the day, you can see there's not like a lot of gross gunk buildup or anything, which it's a fresh motor build. I wouldn't expect to see anything. You can kind of see, I don't know if it'll show up well on camera here, you can kind of see some of the carnage from motor number 1, how like you can kind of see how this cam has the little chips on the side. Doesn't affect the performance of it overall, but you can definitely see where my original cams got a little too much extra love. But yeah, overall, I don't see anything I don't want to see. I don't see any sparkles. And actually, hold on. I'll be right back. Let me get some light on that. There's a lot more light now, so you can kind of see, but, you know, I don't see any sparkles or anything I wouldn't want to see up in here, so all in all, you know, still a happy hunky-dory motor with some, 200,000 mile parts, but happy nonetheless. So, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and move on and start doing the valve cover gaskets now. Alright, so once again, oh my god, it was a night and day difference after cutting out that little notch. Like, this valve cover came off and went on. Like, I mean, honestly, I'm pretty sure I did this. If you count out all the time switching between cameras and everything, this whole process took me maybe about 30 minutes. Like, oh, definitely glad I went ahead and did that here today. So anyway, he is all back together now. A further reminder of, with all these little chips that were coming off of it, that one of these days I am going to repaint the valve cover. Well, chances are I might not even redo this one because, as some of you guys may know, or as I've mentioned before, there is the hope that that guy will eventually become a built motor for boost in the future, so I'll probably put all my effort into making that one look pretty and just leave this one being the sacrificial learning motor. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and start them up, but like I said, it was fairly simple and easy. So next thing will actually be, we'll get to making a splitter and a few other things for the car, as well as there's a long list of other things that we need to do health-wise for this car to make sure it survives next season. So, keep tuned in and you'll see what I do with it.